Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen other pairs will be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I will be going through what's happened this week and potentially what can be happening next week as well. But I do really hope you enjoyed the video. But that is it for me. Let's get into it. Okay, so up first we've got Euro USD. So as you can see this week, massive move to the upside here for Euro USD. Again, at the start of the week, we were looking fairly bullish, and then we had the news come in and we did break through a few levels here this week. Our main focus was to see what was going to happen at this price swing low, which we made a few weeks ago around the 1.12 area. And I said, if we do get back above, we can look for buys and start to target some of these areas here, which we failed to retest on the move down. Or if we did hold as resistance on this area, we would look to sell and continue the trend. So as you can see, we had a strong close back above. And ever since then, the market has just been ripping to the upside this week. So looking very, very bullish coming into this week, primarily looking for sells. There's a few areas, or a couple main areas I'm looking to target and looking to sell from as well. We do have the resistance where price is right now at around 1.14700. And we also got this area here, which price did not retest, and we had this breakout a couple of weeks ago. That's the main area I was looking for price to get to. Kind of got 70% of the way before we did see that bearish continuation. So if this level here, which price is trading at now, doesn't hold, we'll look for sells from up there, which is around 1.15300. So two main areas looking to sell from for Euro USD. This area which price is trading at 1.14700 or 1.15300, and targets will be this area here, which we didn't get the retest of when we did break through this. If I go in the 4H time frame, you can see we broke here, never got the retest, and broke here, never got the retest. So Euro USD is I expect Euro USD is due for a pullback. So if we can hold, if we can hold this level or that level, I would expect price to make a move back down to 1.13800. Breakthrough, we could see Euro USD push the downside further. So primarily looking for sells this week, something like this. Again, not too much price action there, but earlier on we'll be looking for some bearish signals to get short from that resistance, and if we do break through that, we'll be looking at this level just above and looking to get short with the same target all the way back down there. And the only way I'll look to buy Euro USD is if we hold this on the retest. So price struggles to break through, maybe gives us a higher low, and potentially you can look to buy that back up into that resistance. So we'll look for buys if that happens. If not, we just break through, then obviously I'm expecting Euro USD to fall further. But main focus is this level. If not, we're looking for the break and retest up there for shorts, and only if we hold that level on the retest, we'll go long next week for Euro USD. Okay, so up next we've got USD JPY. So for this pair, we did see a brief move to the downside, then price recovered kind of midweek, and we did see a push higher. Last week I was having a short bias because price was holding underneath this level. I said if we break above, then we'll look for a push into these highs up here around 116,350, 116,400. But if we did hold this area, we'll be looking for a push to the downside. First target was around here, and the second target was that double bottom down there on the previous week. So we did see a brief move to the downside, and now we're coming back up into that same resistance, which was our prior swing high there in the market. We have our swing high up there, but as you can see, it's acting nicely as resistance. So I still stand by that coming into this week. If we do get above that, and I would expect price to come back to these highs. Maybe you see some new highs, because again, looking at the weekly and the monthly time frames, price action is still quite bullish, and we're still seeing quite a lot of momentum. So if we do cover this, I won't be surprised if we do take these highs out and go further. So coming into next week, going to be focusing on this level again. If we hold as resistance, we've just about tapped into it. We're going to see how that holds on Monday. So if we can show a bit more evidence that we're holding, we'll look for sells. First target will be all the way down there, and second target will be the double bottom down there. If not, we break through, obviously we'll look for the break and retest of that level, and we'll be looking for highs up at 116,350, 116,400 more or less. and probably further. So that is the plan for the week. Again, just going to be seeing how price reacts with that level, and that will form a bias. So far, it's not enough to tell whether price will hold or respect that level, so we'll keep an eye on it on Monday. And again, you don't have to target all the way down here. You can look for some levels here on the lower time frames if you don't want to hold the trade that long. But that is the plan for next week. Going to be focusing on 115,500, see if it holds the resistance. If it does, look for sells. If it doesn't, look for buys, and we'll be targeting the highs up there for next week. Okay, so I want to come into USD CAD. So USD CAD, we can see we had some downside this week, which was expected. We were coming into 1.28, nice area of resistance, psychological level, and that big wick down the daily. So we were expecting to see some pullback, especially after such a strong move there for USD CAD the week prior. So we're expecting to see some pullback, but our main bias is bullish, and we're expecting price to continue to the upside. And on Friday, you can see a big push there. Again, long-term target or medium-term target, I should say. I'm expecting price to push back into these highs, 1.29600, we'll say, back up into those highs and probably higher. I was looking for price to push back and retest this level here. We kind of just about missed that. Price formed some support just slightly higher, so just missed the retest of that level. But as you can see, our bias was correct and price is still looking bullish. So coming into next week, still maintaining that bullish bias. Next level we'll be looking at is this area here of resistance, where those wicks are collecting on the daily, kind of 128,500. And once we've broken through that, I think we're onwards and upwards to highs. So way to play this is looking for another pullback. If you can push back down, come back and retest this resistance here, because we did see a big push due to NFP there. So maybe we could come back and retest this area and go bullish. Potentially trend line now forming as well. So we got some nice confidence around that area. We'll look for longs. If not, then we can look for a break and retest. You can probably drop from the lower time frames and take advantage of that move there as well. Break and retest of the high, come back and retest it. First target not too far away, but if we do break through that, I think we should see a pretty clean move back up into those highs. So not interested in sales really for USD CAD for next week, mainly focused on buys. If you can have a pullback from that high, that'd be great. If not, we'll look for the break and retest. Again, do be a little bit wary, because we do have that resistance around here, which is not too far away. But I'm expecting price to break through that, and I think once we do, that's when we'll probably see that momentum just continue and move back into those highs. So bullish for USD CAD for next week, hoping for a pullback or break and retest of that high, but targets will be 1.29600 for next week.
Sorry to interrupt the video, guys, but if you are enjoying the content and you find it useful, make sure you go hit the subscribe button down below, and also make sure you drop a like as well. It really does help the channel out. But anyway, back to the video.
Okay, so next up we've got Euro Pound. So as you can see, Euro Pound looking very, very bullish there. Massive wick to the downside, taking out a lot of stop losses beneath these lows here. And after that liquidity was grabbed, we're looking, very bullish, ripping to the upside. Again, that was off the back of the interest rates that came out. Didn't really get a clean setup before. We were looking for buys, but didn't really get a clean setup before. And then after, as you can see, we've already done quite a big move to the upside. But I'm still expecting this Euro Pound move to continue to the upside. Again, we were always trading at that weekly area of support, which I've been talking about for a few videos now. You can see very, very strong support, massive move to the upside. Now coming back to retest it again around the 0.83 area. And I'm looking to see if this support is going to give us a reversal for Euro Pound potentially on the higher time frame. It's already reversed on the daily, but from a weekly perspective, the market is still kind of bearish in this kind of very corrective channel. So either two things can happen. We could either simply break out and reverse, or we can come back, respect this channel and roll over again. So that's my main interest, to see what will happen after this strong move. But for the time being, coming into next week, I will be looking for buying setups to push that higher back into that trend line. So going on to the 4H time frame, I'm looking for a pullback first, because obviously that is quite a big move there for Euro Pound. If I just measure that from the wick all the way up there, it's about almost 200 pips there, which you don't normally see for euro pound in one big move. So definitely looking for some retracement. This is the first area that I'm interested in at 0.84200. So we'll be looking for longs around here, and my targets will be this support over here where we had that consolidation, term resistance, brief retest there, and a big move down. So I'm looking at 0.84900, but first I'm expecting price to move lower. Hopefully we can get a nice retest at this level, and then targets up there slash that trend line. We'll mainly focus on that support time resistance, but the trend line is where I'm expecting price to get to. And then maybe there could be some nice sales later in the week, but that's the main move I'm focusing on for euro pound. So I'm pulled back into this recent swing high around 0.84100, and then from there looking for longs into 0.84900 for next week. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at AUD USD. So AUD USD, our main focus coming into the week was obviously this prior swing low around the 0.7 area, so a very strong psychological area as well. So simply, I said if we hold this as support, we're going to expect to bounce higher, looking for the market to retrace, or if we break through, then we're going to be expecting this overall bearish trend here. Simply just continue. There's a few psychological areas where we're aiming 0.69 next, and maybe even further as well. But as you can see, we had a strong bounce from that bullish engulf on the daily, and we did see a move to the upside. And then second half of the week, we came back into this resistance here. Prior support broke through, now a resistance, a few wicks into that area, and we're looking a little bit bearish now for AUD/USD. So AUD/USD off the back of that, I'm expecting price probably to continue back down to 0.7. We might consolidate a little bit or pull back, but I am expecting price to push back down into 0.7, where again we can look for longs if we hold, or if we break through, we can look for shorts to push this one further to the downside and simply just continue the trend. The reason why I'm expecting price to potentially pull back or move sideways, because we're coming into some demand here, some support. You can see that wick, big push to the upside. The market could start to hold this level and see some upside. Nice double top there, could come back to retest the neckline before we do roll over. So I'm expecting some consolidation or some upside first for AUD/USD. The main areas that I'm looking to sell at will obviously be this neckline here, or if we come back into that double top area. Either which one, to be honest, will look good, obviously depending on the candlesticks and signals we get, but either one of those levels I will be looking to sell at. Obviously the higher the better, more pips to catch, and targets will be back down at 0.7. But then if we can hold 0.7 again, we can maybe see a triple bottom, and there could be some nice longs to take it back up again to the upside. So again, be careful with that, because obviously the higher time frames are still bearish. But if we do get some good price action, there could be some nice longs back up again, but mainly focused on a pullback now and then some downside or into that level and some downside for AUD/USD for next week. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, we did see a bit of a move to the upside this week, which we were expecting. You can see there on the full H, a nice push, pullback and push, forming a double bottom there. So I did say we're looking for buys for NZD CAD because we have been falling to the downside very aggressively. So naturally we are expecting this to see some upside. Whether it's retracement or a reversal, we're yet to find out, but I'm expecting to see a push higher. And the reason why is because we've seen this nice breakout on the weekly, and we're coming into some very strong areas of support, big moves to the upside, another test there, bit of a false break, another big move. So very strong area of support where we could see a lot of buyers stepping into this area. So we are expecting price to retrace higher or reverse. Coming into this week, I'm still expecting a bit more upside for NZD CAD. We are coming into some resistance around here, which potentially could roll price over. But our main focus for the buyers will be at this area here, which is 0.84. Again, nice psychological level. You can see support there, resistance, support again. So if we can hold this for another test, expecting a first move into that area, which obviously will be our first area to target to take profit, because it could come back to our entry price. But if we can break through here, there's two main levels here on the daily that I'm looking to target. This support over here and this support over here. So 0.85200 and 0.85600 will be the targets for NZD CAD if we can break out this kind of little box price is forming there. So there's a lot of upside potential. 0.85200, 0.85650. There's a lot of upside potential, but at the same time the market is still bearish, and if you do break through this area, I do believe we're coming back to the lows, maybe even some new lows as well, because even the higher time frames are quite bearish. But my main focus will be this area at 0.84, nice psychological level, nice confidence in that area as well. See if we can hold it, and if we do, these are the take profit areas for NZD CAD that we'll be looking for this week. Okay, so now we've got pound NZD up next. So we're still kind of at that area of interest, which is that wick all the way back here in 2018, which price spiked into massive downside, and now we're trading back at that area, and price is kind of struggling to break through. So I said if this area can hold, I'm expecting some downside. Two reasons: very strong area. This is the first time we're back at that area in a long time, and number two, we've obviously seen quite a big move to here, even on the weekly time frame. You've seen the daily, very big move. On the weekly, you can see all those bullish candles. So naturally, we're expecting the market, doesn't have to reverse, but we are expecting some retracement. Obviously, we could be heading a lot higher if we do break through, but expecting to see some type of reaction to the downside from that area. So taking that information onto the lower time frames, we can be looking for selling opportunities at this resistance. You can see we've had 4 major attempts at this level. So one, obviously the first one with those wicks, number two, number three, we had some news there, and now number 4, and price is still holding on to. So we've got this area here where price is struggling to break through on the 4H, which obviously lines up with that weekly wick there. So we can be expecting a move to the downside. There's two ways that you can look to trade this. One is slightly riskier than the other, but essentially we've got consolidation here. So you can look to short at these highs, expecting price to hold again and look for moving to the downside. This will probably have to be your first take profit area, and then expecting to see the market break out. Or you can wait for the market to break out of this consolidation, retest them underneath, and look for some downside. And we've got a lot of targets to aim for retracement. We've got 2.01 there, 2.02, nice gap we can go fill to the downside. So there's a few levels we can look to aim, and if this thing does really hold that level, we could actually see a little bit more downside than this as well. But it's up to you how you want to trade it. Again, if you do see some really good price action here on Monday, I'll probably will look to sell there for pound NZD. But if it's looking too choppy and things are not really setting up well, then I'll wait for the break out of the low there, and hope to see if we can get a retest to get into some shorts and take this further. But mainly looking for shorts right now for pound NZD. We're still at that weekly area of resistance. If we break through the high, that's the only way you can look for longs to push it high, in my opinion. Anything else can be a little bit tricky. So you can look for longs if we break out the consolidation to the upside, but I'll be mainly focused on the shorts, see if we can hold that. If not, we'll wait for price to break that low and get in on the retest. And those are my targets this week for pound NZD. Okay, so now I'm going to head over to CAD JPY. So this pair this week, as you can see, pretty much just sideways price action, not much from this pair. Was looking for me to the downside, still am looking for me to the downside for CAD JPY. But the fact that we are moving sideways does mean anything can happen. We are still holding this support here, term resistance, or resistance turn support actually. So we could potentially still break to the upside and come back and revisit those highs around the 92 area. So we'll be looking for both buys and sell opportunities this way for CAD JPY. Won't be so strict with my bias because price could definitely move in both ways. But we are moving sideways, as you can see, so I will wait for a break of this support before going short, and then obviously we'll drop the low time frames for better entries, and looking for a push into the lows of that wick there on 89,500. And then if that does happen, we take up those lows, I'm expecting price to drop a lot further, potentially even back to this double bottom area all the way down there. So there's a lot of downside for CAD JPY. We'll be looking for that break and retest entry there. And then if we do take out the low, again, we can go a lot further. However, if we don't and we respect this area and we take out this resistance, I do think we will head back to, maybe not highs, but at least back to this resistance here at 91,800, which will give us a nice push to the upside as well. So like I said, we're moving sideways on the daily chart. We could break to the upside, we could break down. We'll wait for a clean break on the 4H, then we can scale in lower potentially to increase the risk to reward. But if you take out resistance, I'm expecting price to head back to those previous swing highs there, 91,700. If we don't and we take out that support, expecting price push back to those lows and probably go a lot further into 88 region. So both buys and sells, we'll wait for the breakout and then we'll look for the retest to get our entries. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to pound USD. So as you can see for pound USD, big push to the upside this week. US dollar was quite weak. Again, pound's quite strong. We also had some interest rates come out. So we did see pretty much most of the week I moved to the upside here for pound. I did say if we do hold this support this week, we will be looking for buys from around here, and the targets will be 1.35, which will be this resistance here. So we did see that range complete previously over here, so we're expecting the exact same thing if we did hold that support. So we did see that move happen. We actually passed that, as you can see. So pound USD, we were expecting the buys, but coming to this week, I'm actually expecting the sells. So I'm looking for pound USD to roll over back into that same support which we were trading at the start of last week, and then potentially even back to the lows if we do break through. So pound USD this week came back to 1.36 area, which is a very strong area of support previously over here. Hasn't acted so much recently, but if we do hold this area here, I do think we can drop to the downside, especially if US dollar starts to gain strength again. So I'm looking for a push back down into those lows. So dropping into the 4H time frame, you can see Friday there after NFP, strong move to the downside, breaking through this price swing low here. Two areas of interest, two areas of resistance I'm looking to sell pound USD, one of them being this break and retest, which price is already holding. So if we can keep that up on Monday, we'll be looking for sells coming into the London session, and then targets will be obviously 1.33600, which is that daily region, but also looking at this area here as well, because we could potentially find support and push higher. So that is the first opportunity I'll be looking for. Again, not really bothered about the buys this week for pound. If we break through 1.36, then I think we'll head back to highs. So that's the only way I'll look for buys really. 1.36 into 1.37, well past 1.37 actually. So that's the only way I'll look for buys. But stay underneath that level, which leads me on to my second area of interest, back at these highs again. If we can hold that, again, still looking for sells for pound right back down to those lows. So that's the plan for pound USD this week, looking for the sells. First target here at 1.34500, second target at 1.33600, and those two areas of interest will be the places I do look to get involved for sells. Okay, so now we move on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, as you can see, looking quite bullish this week. We were expecting a push to the upside this week after the week before we fell to roll over. Big push to the upside, breaking out this consolidation and actually holding back above this area of support. So I said if this area does hold, can look for buys. Bit of a false break actually with the support, but it did hold in the end, and we did see a big push to the upside and reaching that area of resistance up here at 1.73. So coming into next week, looking for sells to start with. After that move to the upside, quite a strong move. We do expect to see the market roll over. Again, nothing too major, because it does look like potentially the market could actually be getting ready to reverse, with this potentially being the first kind of major high low in the daily. We could push to the upside. So if we do break through this highs, I'm actually looking at pound CAD coming into this area here at 1.45. So there's a lot of upside for pound CAD. If you do break these highs, then on the retest, that is definitely the target that I'll be looking for. So that is our potential buy setup if the market remains bullish and obviously breaks through the level. If we don't, there could be some nice sells potentially back into that level, but first targets will be around here at 1.71800. Then if we can break through that, we'll look for a push back into that same level. So there's downside and upside. It does look like the market is getting ready to go bullish. So if we do start to hold here, do do look to close out. Don't just look to hold on to your trade to see if you can hit that full target, because if it does show us that bullish momentum, it could easily just start pushing to the upside like it did this week, and then we'll start looking for that break and retest into 1.45. So pound CAD this week coming into a strong area of resistance. We'll see if we can hold it. If we can, first, second target. If we don't, looking for buys back into 1.74500 for next week. Okay, so now on to pound JPY. So this week a bit of a move to the upside, a little bit corrective to begin with, moving just above this trend line. But then when the news hit, we did pick up that momentum and did see a bit of a push to the upside. So pound JPY did move into this area of resistance here on the daily, that bullish candle there, which gave us that bit of a bearish candle there on the daily. And we did break above 155. 500 as well, which I said last week, if we can hold that level, will be some nice shorts. But obviously the pound interest rates came in and we just broke for that level quite easily. So the market's kind of trading back within this range where we did consolidate just before that big dump. I want to see what price can do now, because if we do come back and start to hold this area again, we'll be looking for longs. I do think pound JPY can push on further back into that resistance, and then maybe back into these highs around 157.500. If it doesn't hold and price breaks back beneath this trend line and breaks back beneath that level, I do think we can see the drop for pound JPY back into those lows. So again, looking at both the sells and the buys this week, trying to stay reactive in the market, not too predictive and forcing what we want the market to do. If it does break through this trend line back below that level, we'll be looking for a lower high, preferably on the retest, but it might not be perfect. But looking for that lower high for push to the downside. So that would be a really nice setup. Again, a lot of pips to catch there to the downside, around 200 pips from that level. Over 200 pips actually. But if we do hold the trend line, hold that support, then we can be looking for bullish continuations. Again, the higher time frames are still overall on a bullish trend. And then if you can break through this, I'm expecting price to push back to highs at 157.500, but do beware if you can find resistance there, so maybe look to take some partials. So pound JPY at nice area, we'll see if we can hold it plus that trend line, nice confluence. Probably look to continue. If we break through, nice impulsive break, we'll look for some retracement, a lower high, preferably on that level, but it might not be. And then targets back down at those lows and potentially even further for next week for pound JPY. Okay, so now on to gold. So gold, as you can see, price did come back and respect our area at 1785, 1784. Originally coming into the week after that big push to the downside, we were looking for price to retrace at least to the upside. Very, very strong area of support, big push, another big push. We're expecting the market to retrace from that area and start to recover some of that bearish momentum there. So we did see some nice upside to begin with. To be honest, the price action for gold has been a bit choppy this week. Seen some nice momentum, but overall it's a little bit sideways, to be honest. But we're still looking for those sells coming into that 1810, 1812 area. Nice support there. Big move to the upside. Now return resistance. So if we can hold this coming Monday, we'll look for sells back down into that same support. If we can get the break, like I said previously, I'm expecting price to reach back down at these lows. If not, break past 1810, 1812 area, we'll now be looking at 1828, 1829, 1830. This level of support resistance, really nice resistance there, support there, and again looking for those sells. So sell buys for me this week for gold. There can be some buys caught if you do break above this on the retest, break above, retest, and then take advantage of that move. Just see a fairly clean move back to 1828 up here. But that's a bit more of an intraday trade, so you could probably look at that. But I'm mainly focused on the sells coming up for gold. So hold this, great. We'll be looking at sells there to begin with. That'll be my first area of interest, which price is kind of already trading at. So we'll be monitoring fairly early in the week. If not, and we just blast through, again, we'll be looking at the second area, which is that 1828, 1830 level. If we can hold this, great. Same target as before into that support, breakthrough. We'll be looking at 1764 down there if we can break through that area. But main bias is sells 1812 if we can hold, if not 1828, and target 1786 for the week. Okay, so now we'll take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, bit of a push to the upside on Friday. Overall, quite corrected price action, but we did find our feet a little bit there and a push to the upside. So we're at a very critical area for me for Bitcoin to see if we can hold this area as support. Well, hold it as resistance. Actually, it was support over there and over there, but if we can hold it as resistance and roll over, mainly looking at this one on a weekly time frame, see if we can roll back over into 30k and hold this as resistance and roll over. So we'll be looking at sales right now. Really nice area. If we drop down to the 4H time frame, you can see the price action in a bit more detail. You can see we do have this support here, which price is actually trading above, using as support again. So you could see a move to the upside, but our main focus is the resistance up here at 43,500. So if we do see a bit of a move to the upside for Bitcoin, we'll definitely be looking for sales up here, because obviously this is what started that big dump to the downside previously. If we come back into there, hold it again, can catch some nice sells back into that area and back into that support. If we can take this support out, I do think we can go and hit that 30k region. So Bitcoin looking a little bit bullish right now after that push. We could see a momentum push up a little bit higher into that area of interest. We'll be looking at sales at what is that, 43,500. On the break of this support, can also look for the retest as well. That could also be an entry if you don't quite make it up there. But yeah, heavy on the sales for Bitcoin. If we can hold that break through, that's when I'll look for the reversal. If we just break through, then I'll look for the higher low and then look for the reversal for Bitcoin. So that's the only way I'll look for some long-term, medium-term-ish buys for Bitcoin back on the retest of this, is if we can break through that, look for the higher low, then the continuation, bit of a kind of head and shoulders. But other than that, I still think Bitcoin can roll over and go and hit 30k before maybe we do see a bigger reaction to the upside.
Okay, right guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. If you have any questions, agree, disagree, or you didn't quite understand anything, let me know in the comments down below and I will get back to you. If you are enjoying the content, however, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss out on any uploads or any streams in the future. I hope you all have a great weekend and I'll catch you all next week.